Heartwarming discovery: Billionaire's baby slept sitting for 3 years. Maid exposes incredible truth. Sarah slipped through the grand entrance of the Bennett mansion, her heart heavy yet hopeful. The gleaming marble floors caught the early morning sunlight, casting intricate patterns that danced around her as she pushed her cleaning cart forward. Each step echoed the promise she made to her 7-year-old son, Lucas, to create a better life, one painstaking hour at a time. As she scrubbed away at the crumbs of an elite breakfast that seemed worlds away from her own, she couldn't help but sense the stark contrast surrounding her. Amongst the plush sofas and rare art pieces, Sarah found herself catching glimpses of little Max, the toddler who unknowingly etched a path into her heart. Tom Bennett, the once charismatic tech mogul, now a shell of his former self, kept to the shadows of his home, a broken man after the loss of his wife. And Max. Poor Max, who had slept sitting up in his crib for 3 long years, like a fragile doll unable to escape the weight of grief. The sound of tender whimpers reached Sarah one fateful day while dusting the nursery. When she peeked inside, her chest tightened. Max sat in his crib, wrapped in a blanket but wide awake, eyes searching for something or someone. Her heart pounded, feeding an insatiable urge to connect. She wondered what kind of fear kept him from lying down, why he thought he had to wait for his father to notice him. Gathering her courage, she approached, soothingly whispering his name. Max blinked up at her, his believe-it-or-not innocence piercing right through her labor-worn facade. As she got closer, she noticed the small traced finger marks on the crib railing, signs of a little boy gripping on to the world out of fear. That day, something inside Sarah shifted. Compassion flowed where her usual reservations once resided. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days turned into weeks, Sarah found both solace and purpose in her small interactions with Max. They created a secret world together, a flicker of warmth in the chill of their respective realities. Yet, the cogs of society still creaked against their burgeoning bond, often reminding Sarah of her place. Each laugh they shared felt like a rebellion against the oppressive weight of class, and yet, the barriers were unmistakable. The turning point came one day when she dared to voice a simple yet daunting proposal. "Mr. Bennett," she began tentatively, "have you thought about family therapy for Max? It could help you both." Tom's eyes darkened, raw pain surfacing like a volcano about to erupt. "I don't need help," he snapped, retreating further into his grief. In that moment, Sarah felt the sweet sting of anger mixed with determination. Max's frightened face echoed in her heart. Could love, even for a moment, transcend the boundaries of their disparate worlds? As silence enveloped them, clinging tightly, Max stirred, pointing at a picture of his late mother. She could see the flash of hope in his eyes, but would it be enough? With the shadows of their pasts looming larger, Sarah knew their story was far from over. The air hummed with unanswered questions, and she was left wondering if love and vulnerability could pave the way toward healing and connection, or if those very forces would remain forever out of reach. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Sarah bustled about the mansion preparing for the next day. Her thoughts flickered between the comforting laughter she occasionally shared with Max and the gaping chasm that existed between her and Tom Bennett. It was a dance of hope and despair. She could feel the fragile threads of connection growing, yet they threatened to snap under the weight of Tom's grief. That evening, while dusting in the kitchen, she overheard a muffled conversation. It was Tom, his voice thick with emotion. Sarah's heart raced as she silently approached the door, straining to catch the words. He was speaking to their family therapist on the phone, and the weight of his sorrow pressed against her own heart. "I'm not strong enough. How can I be a father when I can't even face him?" His voice trembled, cracking like brittle glass. Sarah felt an instinctive urge to reach out, to comfort him, but she held back, aware of the delicate nature of his opening. As the night deepened, Sarah couldn't shake Tom's agony from her thoughts. Maybe he was just as lost as Max, filled with renewed purpose. She decided to try again, this time not to provoke with a suggestion but to offer vulnerability and support. It was a gamble, but perhaps the stakes were worth it. The following morning, she took a deep breath as she saw Tom sitting in the garden, his face a mask of fatigue. Her heart broke a little more as she noticed the wildflowers around him, their colors vibrant against his somber mood. "Mr. Bennet?" She approached hesitantly. Tom lifted his gaze, the flicker of surprise evident in his eyes. She felt like a technical glitch in his automated reality. "What is it, Sarah?" His voice was more resigned than angry. "Can we talk? Just for a moment?" She shifted nervously on her feet, unsure of how to begin. He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "I suppose you have the right to tell me to go to hell. But I'm here, for whatever that's worth." Sarah smiled softly, encouraged by his openness. "I want to understand what you're going through. I don't know what it must be like." She paused, clawing for the right words. "But I see Max every day. I see his fear and pain. You're not alone in this, even if it feels that way." Tom looked at her for a long moment. The silence shifted between them, heavy yet raw with possibility. "You think I don't care?" "No," she replied firmly, "I think you're scared. You talk to everyone but Max. He needs his dad. And you need him, too." A flicker of realization passed over Tom's face, and she held her breath as he absorbed her words. "I don't know how to be the father he needs." "I wish." His voice trailed off, a ghost of hope buried deep beneath his words. "Then don't be perfect," she whispered. "Just be there." As the sun rose higher, illuminating the garden, Sarah felt a change in the air. A blossoming of connection, frightening and beautiful. It was as if a dam had begun to crack, and the shared pain of their experiences might finally wash over them. Yet, somewhere in that fragile moment, Sarah realized that this was just the beginning, a fragile step toward some long-awaited healing. But would Tom be willing to break down the walls of his heart? Would he allow love to seep through? As the day wore on, the uncertainty hung in the air. Sarah felt an ache in her chest. What if this fragile bridge they were constructing crumbled before it could fully form? How much more would they have to endure before finding solace? Tomorrow held promises, fears, and the chance of transformation. The question lingered, could they truly find the strength to emerge from the shadows together? The next day dawned bright and crisp, the morning air humming with the potential of change. Sarah made her way to the kitchen, her mind racing with what she could do to help Tom. Just as she poured coffee, the sound of light footsteps caught her attention. Max entered, rubbing his eyes, a crooked smile emerging as he caught sight of her. "Good morning, Sarah. Is it breakfast time?" His voice was a sweet melody, cutting through the weight of yesterday's conversation. "Almost, buddy. You want some eggs?" She felt her heart soften. The connection she had with Max brought her a sense of warmth, a reminder of innocence amidst the adult chaos surrounding them. "Can we have pancakes instead?" he pleaded, eyes wide with excitement. "Pancakes it is," Sarah replied, unable to resist his charm. She worked quickly, her movements efficient but filled with care. As she flipped the pancakes, she wondered if today would be the day Tom finally reached out to his son. Once breakfast was ready, she called for Tom, her stomach churning with anticipation. He emerged from the shadows of the hallway, his face still a canvas of shadows and fatigue. But there was a glimmer of something new, determination? Or just willingness? She couldn't tell. "Breakfast is ready," she said, trying to keep her tone light. Tom glanced from her to the dining table, where Max was already digging in, his laughter ringing like music in the room. The tension in the air was palpable. Tom hesitated, the weight of his barriers pressing down on him like an anchor. "Come join us," Sarah encouraged softly. "He would love to have you here." After a moment's pause, he nodded slowly and approached the table. Sarah watched, hope flooding her chest as Max's laughter filled the air. It felt like a miracle, like each giggle chipped away at Tom's walls. "Dad! Try the pancakes. They're the best." Max beamed at his father, his excitement infectious. Tom tried to muster a smile, but it flickered like a struggling flame. I'll give it a shot," he mumbled, his voice barely breaking through Max's excitement. With cautious movements, Tom sat down. The three of them around the table felt new and fragile, yet somehow alive. As they shared breakfast, it was as if Max was threading the needle that could finally stitch their family back together. He poured all his energy into keeping the conversation flowing, asking Tom about his favorite superhero, recounting imaginary adventures, and then, as the laughter filled the room, Sarah caught a glimpse of Tom, the curve of his lips softening, the tension in his shoulders easing just a bit. But just as it seemed like they were making progress, a sudden darkness crossed Tom's features. "It's not going to fix itself," he whispered, almost to himself. "Nothing ever fixes itself." Sarah's heart ached, and she wanted to reach out, to tell him that they could work through it together, but he seemed lost in a storm inside. "Maybe it doesn't have to be perfect," she said cautiously. "Maybe it just starts with small steps." Before Tom could respond, the doorbell rang, slicing through the moment. Tom's expression hardened as he shot a glance at Sarah, then to the door, a storm of emotions clouding his eyes. Max, oblivious to the tension, jumped up excitedly. "I'll get it," he said, rushing toward the door, his tiny footsteps echoing through the hall. "Wait, Max!" Tom called after him, but the door was already swinging open. As the door opened, the fresh air carried a sudden chill, and Sarah held her breath. Who could it be at this hour? The figure at the door, someone she had not expected, stood there, and her heart raced. It was too soon for this, too soon for the past to come knocking at their door. "Hey, Sarah." Tom, the voice trailed, and the warmth in the room faded. What had just entered their lives, and how would it change everything they were beginning to build? Tom's breath caught in his throat. Recognition flickered across his face, a mixture of disbelief and dread. Sarah felt a chill wrap around her heart as she met the familiar eyes of the woman standing on their doorstep. Rachel, a name woven through their shared past like a tangled thread. "Rachel," Tom finally managed, his voice barely a whisper. It felt like the walls of the house might collapse under the weight of the unspoken history that hung between them. Max, oblivious to the heavy tension, stood at the door grinning. "Do you know her, Dad?" His innocent question cut through the discomfort, prompting Sarah to kneel beside him, hoping to shield him from the unfolding drama. Yes, buddy." Someone from a long time ago," Tom replied, his gaze locked on Rachel, trying to decipher her intentions. Sarah's heart raced. For the past few months, they had been trying to piece their family back together. She had watched Tom struggle, but now the arrival of Rachel threatened to upend everything they were trying to build. The sadness in Tom's eyes was palpable, like he was fighting an internal war between the past and the hopeful future. "What are you doing here?" Tom's voice lowered, edged with a vulnerability that Sarah rarely heard. "I came to talk," Rachel said, glancing at Sarah, then back to Tom. Her voice carried an urgency that suggested there was more at stake than just remnants of their previous life. "I need your help. Something happened. It's about Sam." Sarah's chest tightened. Sam was Rachel's son, Tom's old friend, someone they both hadn't heard from in years. She couldn't fathom what would bring Rachel back like this, dredging up memories they had buried. "Why now?" Tom asked, crossing his arms, bracing against the wave of memories crashing back. "Why present this to me now, after everything?" "Because I don't have anywhere else to turn," Rachel pleaded, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Sam is in trouble. He needs you." Max turned toward them, confusion etched on his small face. "Who is Sam?" he asked, innocence blossoming in his big eyes. Tom knelt beside his son, a hand resting on Max's shoulder. Sam's, he's a friend. But sometimes friends don't always make the best choices. And they don't always know how to ask for help. The words hung heavy in the air. Sarah's heart ached for Tom, the tension in his voice palpable. What kind of trouble? Rachel swallowed, her composure faltering. I can't explain everything right now. Just know that it's serious. I thought if you knew, you could help. Tom snapped, anger flaring up, a protective fire igniting within him. After all this time, you expect me to drop everything for Sam? You and I both know what happened. Why should I trust you? Tears spilled over Rachel's lashes, her voice cracking. Because he's your friend too. Because it's about family, Tom. And families help each other no matter how complicated things get. Sarah felt her breath hitch in her throat. The room filled with silence, heavy and tense. She glanced at Max, whose little brows were furrowed in concentration, trying to make sense of the adult world swirling around him. Rachel turned her pleading gaze on Sarah now, as if seeking her endorsement. I didn't mean to disrupt your lives, but I had no choice. Tom's eyes flickered with sorrow and confusion, struggling between loyalty and the bonds of his past. Maybe we should at least hear her out, Sarah finally said, her voice tinged with caution. We can't ignore it. Tom's shoulders tensed again as he weighed the situation, caught between two worlds. Fine, he exhaled, the word a reluctant concession. But if this goes sideways, Rachel nodded urgently, the desperation evident in her demeanor. I promise, just let me explain. Please. As they stepped inside, Sarah felt the air shift, palpable tension filling the room. What tangled web had Rachel woven that could threaten to pull them all back into a life they had fought to escape? Max, still puzzled, asked, Are we having pancakes or something? Laughter bubbled up instinctively in the tense atmosphere, but it faded quickly, leaving a heavy silence. What secrets lay beneath the surface of this unexpected visit? Would Tom's past drag them back into a narrative they had hoped to leave behind? Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Tom led them into the living room, the weight of shared history hanging thick like a fog. He motioned for Rachel to sit, while Max, still blissfully unaware of the storm brewing, pushed his toy cars across the coffee table. Sarah watched her husband's every movement, the tightness of his jaw and the way he clenched his fists as he tried to maintain control. Rachel settled in an armchair, her eyes darting between Tom and Sarah, seeking reassurance, yet finding only hesitation reflected back at her. Thank you for hearing me out, she began, her voice a delicate thread barely above a whisper. I know it's been years, but this is urgent. Sam. He's made some wrong choices again. Choices that could put him in danger. Danger from what? Tom cut in, his anger bubbling beneath the surface. Is it drugs? Is he mixed up with the wrong crowd again? You come here after all this time, and you expect me to believe you? I wouldn't come to you if it weren't serious. Rachel's voice rose, her composure trembling like the leaves outside in a sudden gust of wind. He's been in trouble before, but this time it's different. I'm terrified of what could happen if he doesn't get help. He's scared, Tom. He doesn't know how to ask for it. Max looked up, his brows knitted in confusion. What's wrong with Sam, Mommy? Sarah knelt down beside him, squeezing his shoulder gently. Sometimes friends get lost along the way, sweetie. They just need a little more help to find their way back. Max peered between the adults, sensing the tension that hung in the air. Tom's face crumpled slightly, the hard lines softened by memories flooding back. I know about lost, I know about trying to find your way again. The confession slipped out before he could stop it. Rachel's eyes widened, a glimmer of understanding passing between them. You were that person for me once, Tom. I thought maybe you could be that person for Sam now. But I can't just forget everything that happened between us. You put me in a terrible position. There was an ache in Tom's voice, the inner conflict tugging at him. You walked away, Rachel. I had to. Her voice softened, a strange mix of regret and determination. I was trying to protect him. Protect myself. I never wanted to hurt you, but I had nowhere else to turn. I thought maybe, just maybe, you could look past our history. Sarah felt like a spectator to a game she didn't understand, emotions churning around her like a whirlpool. She desperately wanted to help, to guide Tom through this labyrinth of buried memories and unresolved emotions. Maybe I should talk to Sam? Tom finally said, the defeat swirling in his tone. If he's really in trouble, I can't turn my back on him. Rachel nodded, relief washing over her. You'd really do that? You'd help him? Tom nodded again, but this time it was more uncertain, shadowed by a cloud of doubt. If he's in danger, then yes. But it isn't going to be easy. The room filled with tension once more. As Tom rose, a sudden thought struck Sarah like a bolt of lightning. Wait. What kind of trouble are we talking about, Rachel? You've mentioned danger but not what it actually is. Rachel hesitated, tears glistening in her eyes. He's involved with people who might not let him leave. What do you mean might not let him leave? Tom's voice turned urgent, his protective instincts surging. Rachel took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. I think he might be in too deep with a gang. They've threatened him, Tom. And I'm afraid they will hurt him if he tries to back out. Max, who had been quietly observing, seemed to sense the shift in energy. He clutched his toy car tighter, looking from one parent to the other. Tom's face turned pale, and he swallowed hard as he processed Rachel's words. Then we need to help him. We can't let this go the way it did last time. The gravity of Tom's declaration echoed through the room, a silent call to arms that ignited something deep within Sarah, but just as the terror of that new revelation settled in, another knock echoed through the house, sharper than the last. What now? Sarah murmured, anxiety tightening around her chest. Tom exchanged worried glances with Rachel, knowing that whatever lay on the other side could tip the scales even further. What if it's about Sam? Rachel said, a hint of panic creeping into her voice. Sarah raised her eyebrows, uncertainty blossoming within her. Maybe we're not ready for what's next. What awaited them on the other side of the door? Would it be the help they desperately needed, or a new ordeal that would pull them even deeper into a spiraling uncertainty? Tom's heartbeat quickened as he approached the door, the sense of impending doom palpable. Rachel's anxious breaths filled the space between them, a tide of worry washing over the room. Stay back, Tom whispered, his voice low and tense. The thought of opening the door felt like staring down a dark alleyway. With a shaking hand, he turned the knob and pulled the door open. Standing there was a man, broad-shouldered and with a steely gaze that made Tom take a step back. His hands were tucked firmly in the pockets of a worn leather jacket, and a hint of something dangerous lingered in the air. Tom, the man said, his voice gravelly but calm. I'm here for Sam. Tom's heart sank. Who are you? Name's Jake, he replied, his expression unyielding. I know you're worried about him. He needs to talk, and I'm the one who can help him. Rachel gasped softly, instinctively moving closer to Tom. Help him? Or threaten him? What do you want? Jake's lips curled slightly, not quite a smile. Not what you think. Sam's in deep. He's at the point of no return. I'm here to give him a way out. Why would you help? Tom asked, skepticism sharpening his tone. Let's just say I don't want another kid getting caught up in something I know all too well, Jake replied, his words laced with regret. There was a flicker of pain in his eyes that made Tom hesitate for a moment. What makes you think he'll listen to you? Sarah interjected, her voice shaky but resolute. He's scared. Because I'm the one who pulled him in. He trusts me. Jake's gaze shifted to Rachel. And I know he wouldn't want his mom in the middle of this. This doesn't have to be ugly. There was a brief silence, the tension thick like a tangible weight hanging over them. The prospect of Sam having someone who seemed to understand what he was going through was both a flicker of hope and a fire of distrust igniting within Tom. I need to talk to him, Tom finally said, the determination returning to his voice. We'll hear you out, but if I think Sam is in more danger because of you, Jake nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. That's fair. I can give you what you want. Just let Sam know he doesn't have to face this alone. Max, who had remained silent, shifted nervously. His little fingers still clutched the toy car, and his innocent eyes darted from one adult to another, sensing the intensity of the moment. What is going to happen? He finally asked, worry etching lines onto his small face. Sarah squatted beside him, her heart breaking. We're just trying to figure things out, buddy. It's going to be okay. But as she spoke, she couldn't shake the doubt festering in her mind. Tom's eyes locked onto Jake's. You say he doesn't have to be alone. But what if he doesn't want to listen? That's why I'm here. To convince him. Jake shifted on his feet, his stance shifting from aggressive to almost pleading. Sam's scared, and I can help break that fear. They stood there, the storm of emotions swirling, each person wrestling with the gravity of this unexpected encounter. Tom felt a wave of protective instinct shimmer through him, connected deeply to his memories of Sam, not just as the boy lost in a world of trouble, but as the nephew he loved. With resolve building inside him, Tom glanced back at Rachel and Sarah. Let us go find him. We'll do this together. As they moved to follow Jake, the gravity of their decision settled heavily like a choice loaded with uncertainty. Could they trust this man? Would he really be the key to saving Sam, or was this a wrong turn that could lead to more danger? And just as they turned to leave, the door creaked, revealing a shadow standing just out of sight, cloaked in darkness. Who was it, and what did they want? Tom's heart raced as he processed the unknown figure in the doorway. The dim light illuminated a face that was familiar yet unsettling, stirring a deep unease within him. Who's there? Tom asked, his voice steadier than he felt. The figure stepped forward, revealing a girl with haunted eyes. It's me, Ellie, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm looking for Sam. Rachel gasped, her hand tightening around Tom's arm. What do you want with him? She demanded, the instinct to protect her son rising. I didn't know where else to go, Ellie stammered. I thought I could help him. He's in trouble, real trouble. She shifted nervously, glancing at Jake with a mix of fear and recognition. Jake's hardened expression softened just enough for Tom to notice. Ellie, he said, the name charged with memories. Why should we trust you? I know what's going on, she replied, urgency creeping into her voice. Sam and I, we were close. He needs help before it's too late. Tom felt a twinge of anger. So you came here, now? After everything? He's already terrified, and you think showing up will make it better? Ellie's eyes filled with tears. I didn't want to get involved, but I had no choice. I came to warn him. There are people looking for him, bad people. What do you mean? Sarah stepped closer, her nurturing side on full display. Who's looking for him? Guys from the neighborhood, gang members. Sam owes them money. I heard them talking about what they'd do to him if he doesn't pay. The tremor in Ellie's voice broke something inside Tom. She was scared but trying to be strong. How do you know this? Tom asked, trying to sort through the desperation in her eyes. I overheard them at a park, she admitted, her shoulders slumping. I didn't think it was real until I saw them waiting outside the school. An icy dread settled over the room. Tom's protective instincts kicked into high gear. We need to find Sam, now, he said, turning to Jake. Will you help us? Jake nodded, determination flaring in his gaze. "I'll do whatever it takes. Just lead the way." Tom took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his family's safety pressing down on him. "Okay, Ellie. You come with us. You said you were close to him. I don't want anyone getting left behind." As Tom ushered everyone out of the house, Max tugged on his sleeve. "What if they find him first, Dad?" The uncertainty in his son's voice cut through him like a knife. "We won't let that happen," Tom promised, though the conviction in his own heart wavered. The four of them stepped into the cool night air, the world outside feeling heavy with unspoken fears. Tom led the way, adrenaline coursing through him, his mind racing through possible scenarios. Where could Sam be? Did he know about the danger? Questions surged, each one screaming louder than the last. They hurried down the quiet streets, shadows stretching long beneath fading streetlights. As they moved, Ellie walked closer to Tom, her face pale yet determined. "I'm sorry for everything," she said softly. "I never wanted this for him." "I know," Tom replied, glancing at her. "We're going to fix this together." But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. Would they reach Sam in time? And if they did, would he agree to leave? In the silence of their hurried footsteps, an unsettling realization sank in. They weren't just racing against time, they were bracing for a showdown against the past that had ensnared Sam. Just ahead, a flicker of movement caught Tom's eye. He turned, heart pounding, his breath catching in his throat as he recognized a familiar silhouette in the dark. "Sam!" he shouted, the name bursting from him like a prayer. But before he could reach his nephew, a gang of figures emerged from the shadows, surrounding Sam in a tight circle. The shimmering danger was glaring, and for the first time, Tom felt an overwhelming sense of dread. What would happen next? Would he be able to save Sam before it was too late? Tom's heart dropped as he took in the scene before him. Sam stood at the center, eyes wide with fear, surrounded by three imposing figures. The streetlights flickered, accentuating the harshness of their sneers. Sam's posture betrayed a mixture of defiance and dread, a boy caught in a terrible storm. "Let him go!" Tom shouted, his voice echoing through the night, filled with a mixture of anger and desperation. He stepped forward, the instinct to protect flooding his veins. The gang members turned, eyes narrowing on Tom. One of them, a tall guy with tattoos snaking down his arms, stepped forward. "And who are you supposed to be?" he challenged, a cocky grin spreading across his face. "Someone who won't let you hurt him," Tom replied, finding strength in his words, but he could feel the quiver in his hands. He risked a glance at Ellie, who stood frozen beside him, her face pale but determined. "Tom!" Sam called, his voice wavering. I'm fine. Just leave me out of this." But Tom wasn't going to back down. "You're not fine, Sammy. You're in danger." His heart raced as he fought to keep his emotions in check. Sam's safety was all that mattered right now. The gang members laughed. "Look at this family man, thinking he can save the day," the tattooed guy sneered, glancing over his shoulder as his companions exchanged amused smirks. "Sam owes us money. And he will pay up one way or another." "Money? What do you mean?" Rachel's voice broke through, filled with incredulity. She stepped forward, pulling Max closely to her side. "Shut it, lady," another gang member snapped. "You don't even know what you're getting into." "Enough." Tom's voice boomed, drowning out the swirling chaos. He took a step closer, his heart racing, determined to break through this nightmare. "Sam is a kid. You think you can just intimidate him into paying back something he doesn't have?" The tension thickened as Sam glanced between Tom and the gang members, confusion etched on his face. I thought I could figure it out." "Figure what out?" Ellie interjected, stepping up beside Tom, her presence somehow steadying. "You don't have to handle this alone, Sam. Let us help you." As Sam hesitated, wrestling with fear and uncertainty, the tallest gang member shoved past Tom, marching right up to Sam. "You really think you can just wriggle your way out? You're in deep, kid. We could make your life hell if you don't get us what you owe." A flicker of anger surged in Tom. "You don't scare him. And you don't scare us." He felt ready to fight, yet his mind raced with possible outcomes. The fear of what could happen if this escalated clawed at him. Sam whispered, finally showing a crack in his bravado. "I'm so sorry." "Don't apologize," Tom commanded. "We'll get you out of this, I swear." He turned to the gang members, fury simmering beneath the surface. "Step away from him, or you'll regret it." The tattooed guy shrugged, glancing back at his companions. "He's right, you've got guts coming out here. But guts won't help you. You'll wish you stayed home." Tom felt a coil of dread tightening around him. He had to keep his family safe at all costs, but the shadows closing in around them didn't help any of them. As he tried to assess their next move, he heard a distant siren wailing, piercing through the tension like a beacon of hope. "Listen," he said urgently. "We don't want trouble. Just let Sam go." But the atmosphere shifted, and the gang members looked among themselves. "Time's up, family man. You can't protect them forever," the tattooed guy spat, stepping closer to Sam. The moment hung in the air, fraught with danger, and Tom's instinct screamed that this was the breaking point. Then he felt Max's small hand tugging at his sleeve, grounding him amidst the chaos. "Dad, what do we do?" Max's voice trembled, his wide eyes reflecting fear. In that moment, Tom realized that this wasn't just about Sam. This was about them all, standing together against whatever storm was coming. He couldn't show weakness. With a deep breath, he glanced back at Ellie, solidarity swirling in their gazes. "We're not backing down. We're family, and we'll face this together." Before he could react, the tension snapped like a rubber band, the gang members moving in closer, menacing smiles threatening to reveal the fate that awaited them. Tom's heart raced as a shout broke through the air. Was the siren just a mirage or salvation approaching? "Stay back!" Sam shouted, taking a step forward, fueled by something unnameable. But would it be enough? As Tom braced for what was about to unfold, he felt a deep unease settle in his chest. What if this wasn't just a confrontation with the gang but with everything that had haunted their family? Would they stand firm when faced with their worst fears? The gang members surged forward, shadows converging like dark clouds over a terrified town. Tom's heart pounded in his chest, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He could sense the tension in the air thickening, electrifying the moment. "Back off!" he yelled, voice steadying, though inside, turmoil danced like a wildfire. He locked eyes with Sam. "Just hold on. We're not leaving you." Sam's chin quivered, but he squared his shoulders, trying to channel some hidden reservoir of courage. His gaze flicked toward the encroaching gang, fear swirling in his eyes. One of the gang members smirked. "Look at him. Brave little kid, huh?" He chuckled cruelly. "But you think you can use your family as a shield? That's a nice fantasy." Behind Tom, Ellie stepped closer, her grip tightening around Max, who whimpered slightly. "We're not afraid of you," she declared, her voice quaking but fierce. Tom wanted to laugh out loud, a bitter sound for the cruel irony of it all. Here they were, standing together in this dark alley, thinking they could fight back against forces that aimed to tear them apart. What did they really know about bravery? Enough of this. The tattooed leader's voice cut through the air, an impatient growl. "You've had your fun. Now, Sam's going to pay." Just then, the police sirens drew closer, a mournful wail slicing through the night. "Please God," Tom whispered, the prayer slipping through clenched teeth. He fought the overwhelming urge to turn and run with his family, but he couldn't abandon Sam. A shift occurred in Sam, a flicker of resilience igniting in his scared eyes. You can't take anything from me," he shouted, surprising everyone. "I don't owe you anything." The gang members hesitated, surprise etched on their faces. "Sam," Tom encouraged, hope swelling in his chest. "That's right. Stand tall. They can't win if we stand together. What do you think you're doing?" The tattooed guy spat, anger flaring in his eyes like a match striking against stone. "You really want to take this to the next level? Come on, let him go," Ellie urged, voice trembling but resolute as she nudged closer to Tom. "This is about more than money. You're hurting someone who's already scared." This seemed to strike a chord. The gang members shifted uncomfortably, their bravado flickering like a candle in the wind. But Tom knew they were still dangerous. Sudden movement caught their attention, a flash of headlights suddenly lighting up the alley, the squad car's presence suddenly shifting things dramatically. The gang looked over with alarm. "Fellas, listen," Sam shouted, his voice trembling but firm, a mix of fear and desperation. "I'll call my mom. I'll do whatever it takes to get you the money, just please don't hurt us." "Don't be stupid," the tattooed leader growled, eyes gleaming with rage and uncertainty. The other two gang members exchanged nervous glances, anticipating trouble arriving just as they had decided to escalate things. "What do we do?" Max's question cut through the noise of confusion, his small voice filled with worry. "We stay strong," Tom replied firmly, determination flooding his words. "We're going to protect each other no matter what." The gang members glared, uncertainty flickering within their eyes as sirens echoed closer. The weight of the moment held a peculiar magic. It showcased the fragile bone structure of fear beneath bravado, the real power resting in unity. But what would happen when the police arrived? Would it turn into chaos, a struggle with everything on the line? Or would this be their moment to finally break free from the darkness? As Tom stood waiting, the sirens' blare intertwining with their heartbeats, he felt an undeniable shift in the air. Was this the turning point they desperately needed, or a dangerous spark igniting a storm? In that instant, one thing was clearer than ever. Their fight was just beginning, and the world they thought they knew would never be the same. With a heartbeat that resonated louder than any siren, they all braced for what came next, united as one in their stand against the shadows. What would the night reveal about their strengths and fears? As the police car screeched to a halt, the flashing lights cast chaotic reflections against the darkened alley walls. The world felt electric. Tom took a stealthy, resolute step forward, instinctively placing himself between the gang and Sam. "Show no fear," he whispered to himself. "We're family," he muttered under his breath, hoping Sam could hear. "Just breathe," he added, casting a quick glance back at Max and Ellie. Their faces were mirrors of fear and steadfastness. Tom felt a surge of responsibility wash over him, drowning out the chaos threatening to engulf them all. "Let him go," a commanding voice shouted from the squad car as two officers sprang into action, approaching the scene. Relief mingled with dread surged through Tom. Would the officers' intervention be the relief they sought or the catalyst for further chaos? The tattooed gang leader eyed the officers warily. For a moment, they were locked in a standoff, distrust crackling between them like electrical energy. The other gang members shifted nervously, sensing the tide had begun to change. "Sam, come on. You need to move," Tom yelled, not skipping a beat. The sound of urgency fueled his voice. Sam's fear-stricken eyes darted between the gang and Tom, uncertainty woven deeply into his expression. But then suddenly, something ignited in Sam. Maybe it was Tom's unwavering faith. Or perhaps it was the realization that he did not have to fight through this alone. "I'll talk. Just please don't hurt anyone," Sam shouted, his voice quaking but rising above the din of the gang's menacing laughter. Tempers flared. It was a dangerous moment, holding the potential to turn violent. Tom braced himself for the fallout. "Shut up, kid," the gang leader hissed, shoving Sam hard against the wall. You think they're gonna help you? No. I can fix this. Sam cried, his voice cracking. I'll make it right. Just let me talk to you. The gang members hesitated for a breath, the tension snapping in different directions. You think these cops care about you? The tattooed guy jeered, but there was uncertainty behind his bravado. It was a flicker, a chance, and Tom seized it. Sam, listen. Tom called. You don't owe them anything. You're not in this alone anymore. Then came the unexpected turning point. Great honking sounds reverberated, mingling with the sirens. Emergency lights exploded into the area, 2 more police cars arriving on the scene like guardian angels. The gang cowered, a moment of realization dawning on their faces. Maybe they were outnumbered. In swift motion, the officers drew their weapons, aiming toward the gang, shouting commands. Drop it. Step back away from the kid. One officer barreled toward Tom's side, scanning the situation, eyes darting to Sam and back to the gang. Tom felt the tide shifting more in their favor. He turned, catching Ellie's wide, anxious gaze. She squeezed Max tighter, her resolve unwavering. That strength fueled him, and he shouted again, We're not giving up. We're going to fight for you, Sam. Something shifted within Sam. It was as if he found the anchor he needed in those very words. Maybe that spark of hope was enough to reignite his spirit, a resolve to battle against the shadows closing in. I don't want to be afraid anymore. He yelled. You can't take me. The tattooed leader clenched his jaw, realizing the confrontation was crumbling beneath him. Get out of here, Sam. This is your last chance. He spat, his attempt to regain control evident. But they were on the edge of freedom. The officers moved in more aggressively. The gang's arrogance began to fade. Fear seeped into their bravado as the lights glared against them, making the increasing danger tangible. Hands up. Hands in the air. A police officer commanded. The gang members exchanged frantic glances, their escape plan evaporating like mist. Tom's heart pounded as the gang slowly surrendered, each movement crippling their confidence. He turned back to Sam, locking eyes with his nephew, who stood trembling but standing firm. Same goes for you. We're not leaving you behind. No more alone. As the gang was cuffed, a sense of relief cascaded over the group. In that chaotic moment, tangled pasts unraveled slowly, hope weaving them together anew. The realization hit Tom hard. Family wasn't about perfection, it was the messy struggle, the fight against the odds, the love that bore scars yet insisted on healing. Sam stepped forward, filled with new courage. I need help. They can't win if we fight together, he called out, voice steadying, the boy wearing fear transforming into one ready to embrace the love awaiting him. And then, like a chorus, everyone echoed that sentiment, their voices roared in unison against the monster lurking in the dark. Together. It echoed through the alley, reverberating with new promise, with gratitude and resolve. Tom stepped forward, meeting the eyes of the officers. His heart swelled for the first time in years. Healing had begun. They would rise from this together. As the sirens faded, hope reigned, blossoming anew. This was their moment, and they would seize it. Now's your time to be part of a family that supports each other through thick and thin. Hit that subscribe button now. You need to be part of the next journey and see how love and resilience can turn the tide. Don't just stand there, leave a like to show your support and light up the algorithm. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings on this transformation. And share this story with at least 5 friends who need a spark of hope. Remember, every action helps us grow. Join us.